Wayne,
Yes.
thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I have had this podcast now for a while, and of course, you've seen the room. And I wanted to have you come on and just talk about the market, And first, I thought we would just kind of introduce you. I've known you now for a long time,
Almost 15 years,
15 years. Yeah,
At least.
yeah,
I remember.
yeah. We've become really good friends,
Absolutely.
and been working together for a long time.
Yeah.
I've
You are my loan guy. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I really enjoy our friendship, and I really enjoy, you and Freddie. And
Absolutely. And
yeah,
it's the same goes for us. And, what's really great is we're able to do business together.
yeah.
I totally trust you. You have the inside track. You're a sharp guy.
Thanks.
For all of you out there, Pete's the guy. I mean, we've been doing a lot of deals. You do all our personal stuff besides all our clients whenever we can get them to you. So,
Thank you.
yeah, it's great to work with such a great professional and sharp person.
Oh, thank you, Wayne.
So let's just jump into this, right?
Yeah. So real quick, I did want to just say, so you're a broker.
Yes.
You're a real estate broker. How long have you been in Reading as a broker?
Well, we started the brokerage around 98, I believe.
Okay.
Denise, our daughter, started up here in Reading. We were Real Estate One for many years. And then around 2013, we bought the Windermere Real Estate franchise. And we've been Windermere ever since, which is a phenomenal company to work for and work with. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, awesome. No, I appreciate that little background. I know you guys been in the real estate community for a very long time, and you used to do mortgages too.
Yeah, I did
You used to be
mortgages
in
at
the
one
mortgage.
time.
Yeah.
But not my thing. I'm not geared for that.
Yeah.
I need to be out running around, looking at property, helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today's topic is basically just giving an overview of the market. It's 2023. We're in December, halfway through December of 2023. Interest rates have been climbing.
What a year.
What a year. Yeah. And I know you'd stay top. You keep up on what's happening
Absolutely.
with the market and home values. And I have a lot of questions here just on the market. I would love to do this more often just to get our the listeners an update on the current market. And
we can do a monthly real estate report. We publish once a month. We run a number of stats. What's going on in the marketplace? We do a sales trend report. We work with an appraiser locally, which breaks down the market.
Yeah.
And so it's like inside information of what's really going on.
And I'll put that up on the screen here.
Yeah, and if you want to reach out,
I'll put your contact info underneath.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you'd like the printable monthly sales trend report, we can definitely send it to you. All we need is an email.
And it's local, right? It's local.
It's all local information, although we do a little bit of a national overview at times, but really we focus on what's really going on here because Reading is a very specific market. It's very different than the rest of California. In many ways, it's very different than a lot of other places around the nation. So we really try to focus in on the Reading greater area.
Yeah. I love that. So my first question here for you is can you give us a brief overview of current state of our local real estate market?
Okay, well that's a big question. So let's just talk. Let's go into year to date.
Okay.
Year to date. So there's been 2,430 transactions. We're about 13% less than a year ago.
Okay. What does that mean? 2,430 transactions. Is that like total number of
That's
sales?
the total number of residential transactions according to our sales.
Okay.
And those are just residential home sales. We're not taking into everything else.
So what is that on a monthly basis? Total. That's 200 divided by 12.
You're a math guy.
I'm not really a math guy, but it's about 200 on average.
Yeah, about 200.
About
200 sales a month. Of course, it changes. It's seasonally it's going to change.
Yeah.
Depending, like January, February can be slow.
Yeah.
But and then actually August can actually be slow because everybody's traveling, kids are back in school, grandparents aren't doing their thing. So, but overall, 200 a month.
And so what you're saying is we're down about 13%.
Correct.
From the previous year.
From the previous year.
So last year we had more number of sales.
Correct.
Got it. So
13% more.
It slowed down.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what does that actually mean? So like when the number of transactions slowing down, what does that mean really?
Well, it just means that interest rates have actually gone up, and we're fighting. We had a lot of appreciation. I think it was 2021 where we had 19% appreciation.
Yeah.
It was just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, to see that in a year, when you take a look at a 50-year chart, to have 19% appreciation is just unheard of.
Yeah.
It's just normally not what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had this steep growth in equity, which is fantastic if you were in the market and you had low rates. I mean, back then the rates were 3%.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Around
high twos, low threes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had the lack of inventory. We had this almost like free money, which was like amazing. Never really seen it.
Yeah.
The only time you see it is when the economy is really messed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Usually you're looking at interest rates that are somewhere in a healthy economy. They're going to be around 5 to 7%.
Yeah. Where they're at
people
right now.
don't want to hear that,
Where they're
but
at right
that is the truth, right?
Yeah. It is. You're right.
Right. If you look at a chart over a 50-year period, the average rate was 8%.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it makes the economy work, but when they have all these economic policies that are trying to balance stuff, it really manipulate the markets to try to stave off recession or depression.
Yeah.
Crazy things happen, right?
Yeah.
It affects housing sales.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the other thing that I want to say also is we're about 20% off on new listings from year to date. This is year to date. So there's 3,000 new listings year to date. We're down 20%.
What does that mean?
That means there's 20% less houses on the market.
On the market.
And there's a couple different ways to think about it too.
Yeah.
When we had those 3% interest rates and we had 19% appreciation, a lot of magic happened, right? So a lot of people refinanced and it dropped their mortgage payment in half or, a third or a quarter, which was really a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what happens is you have all these houses that are not going to come on the market.
Because they have lower rates.
They have lower rates and they're not going to trade them out. I mean, people are going to, definitely life goes on and people do move, but it decreases the volume.
So to break this down.
Yes.
What you're saying is I have a house and I refinance and I got a 3%. Let's say I owe $400,000 on this house and I refinance and I saved maybe $500 a month and now I'm paying, let's say, 3%. I have another newborn baby and I need to upgrade. However, the problem is that I'm sitting on this 3%.
Correct.
And if I want to buy another house, I have to upgrade, get a bigger home,
house,
or a 4-bedroom instead of a 3-bedroom potentially.
Correct.
I need to do this, right? But I don't because of the rate going from 3 to 7,
Correct.
Or from 3 to 6. And so the payment is a lot more. It doesn't make sense for these sellers. And this is what you're saying is there's 20% less homes that were listed for sale this year, and this is why.
This is why. There's a couple other factors that are kind of flowing into this. So we need to back up to the Carr fire.
Okay.
We lost 800 houses. Out of those 800 houses that burned, there's only been about 25% roughly
Interesting.
that have rebuilt.
Yeah.
So 800, what does that leave you?
25%,
Probably,
650
yeah.
maybe, yeah.
But think about all those houses that are not coming on the market. There's no inventory there, or will there ever be, except for whoever rebuilt and want to move now or has to move.
So we really got an inventory crunch for the car fire.
From the car fire.
Yeah, that was in 2018.
Right. Now, and also think about the Paradise fire. So Paradise dislodged a lot of people.
Yeah.
Chico, at the time Paradise fire happened, Chico sold out immediately. I had a friend that made over $100,000 in a week.
Wow.
Because there was no inventory, and just boom. Well, a lot of those people moved into our market.
They came to Redding.
They like more of the rural life. They didn't want to go any other places. So that created a surge in
new
buying
buyers.
and new buyers.
And it took the inventory.
And it took the inventory out again. So there's a lot of different factors that are going on here.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so
it makes sense.
So the thing that I would like to really talk about is your average sales price. Now, a lot of people are expecting homes to really roll back, and I got news for you. That ain't going to happen. We've had a little bit of a rollback in pricings, absolutely. But now think about it. We don't have a lot of inventory. Now, rates are going to move down. So what's going to happen, Pete? We're not going to have inventory. Rates are going to move down. What's going to happen?
A lot more people will be able to afford the payment.
Correct.
More people will be able to afford the payment at a lower interest rate.
So what is the law of supply and demand? If you don't have inventory and you have more buyers in the market, what's going to happen to sales prices?
Home sales prices will have to go up because there'll be more demand on the inventory. More demand,
Correct. Yeah. So one of the things that we're constantly talking with buyers about is, getting in the market, really taking a look at your career, see if you can, get raises, pay down your bills, work with you, work on the credit.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people go, I'm going to pay everything off. And I caution my clients about that without talking to Pete, because that's not always the best move. You really need to work with Pete because he knows the magic formulas that drive credit scores up, make you a better borrower.
Absolutely.
It helps your interest rate, your down payment, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great point. A lot of buyers right now, they don't believe what you're saying. They don't believe prices were going to go up. And I don't know why this is, because if you look at every single year all the way back to, I was looking at news articles back in 1980.
Right.
And if you want to find doom and gloom about the real estate market, you can find it. And it's,
but it's in short blips.
Every single year they say something's, some kind of crash.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So like if we go back all the way to 1942, guess how many years out of 1942, out of the last 81 years, how many years did real estate actually decline since 81
I would
years?
say is probably maybe 6, 8 times.
Very close, 7.
7
years.
Yeah.
2 of those years were 1990 and 1991. And in 1990, real estate went down 0.1%. In 1990 went down 1%. 91 was 0.1%. Not really a decline.
Not a decline.
It's more
just
of a
hold.
break even. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the 5 other years were from 2007, the
Great Recession.
The Great Recession.
Yeah. And that was totally Wall Street's mess that they made that we all paid for. But think about this. That was an incredible time to invest. Oh, insane amount of money that was made by people that were ready, willing, and able, and had some courage and foresight to see, hey, I can go in, I'm buying something at 50% its asset value, and I can make it work, turn it into a rental, and they picked up a couple $100,000 of equity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. That's the power of real estate. Now, is that going to happen today? Absolutely not. You are not going to see a rollback like that, period.
Yeah.
It is not happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got a lot of people on their internet that are, quote, all these experts, but they don't know what they're talking about.
The only way that I could see something, the market somehow, even staying close to the same, with inventory the only way I see inventory going up, and I don't even think it's in Reading, but the only way I see this is second homes and investment properties. If people need to sell their second home or need to sell their investment property, there's a lot of second homes out there.
Okay.
And that's the only way I see it. I don't see it happening in Reading, though, because we are a destination location. Like there's,
let's also, people don't really understand what's going on in this county, in this greater Reading area.
Yeah.
So you have the airport and the industrial park expanding.
Wow.
Now they've talked about, anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 jobs being created, manufacturing jobs. Mm-hmm. That tends to bring a lot of money into the community versus the IT new jobs that are created.
So you got the airport.
So you have the airport and the industrial park.
Industrial park.
Okay.
Where's the industrial park going to go in?
Well, industrial park's out by the airport.
Okay, sorry.
Right. It's only been 30 years they've been trying to make this thing work. Yeah. Well, they finally, have gotten it to work. It looks like things are moving along out there. So anticipate there's all these jobs that are going to be created that are no longer here. Mm-hmm. You have Bethel, the school. Now they're going to increase their student population another 1,500 people. Well, how many teachers, how many support people, all these people that need to be, have jobs and go in there.
Yeah.
You have the Win2 Indian, they're creating they're in the process of building a hospital that's going to employ about 200 people there.
Wow.
Let's see what else is going on. Dignity Health, they have something going on down on the river. Eventually they'll get that up and going.
Wow.
And so I look at that and I go, where's all the inventory going to come from? Who's going to supply that? If your average sales price, and let's talk about average sales price. I got it here. So the average sales price for November was $440,000.
440 for November?
For November.
Wow.
And so a year ago, it was 410.
Wow.
No. Yeah.
410. So it went up. The average sales price.
Yeah. So, it's not really rolling back. It's kind of hovering around because it's always that supply and demand. Mm-hmm. So normally when you have high interest rates, it really cuts off the demand. Mm-hmm. But what's happened is you've also had an incredible amount of decrease in supply.
Yeah.
And the future for Reading is pretty awesome when you take a look at employment, and it's pretty awesome if you own real estate.
Yeah.
But if you're a buyer, you need to get in the game.
Yeah.
And let's ride this wave.
I agree.
Yeah,
absolutely.
right?
100% I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, I should have been smarter and bought every piece of real estate that would, fund itself as an investment.
Yeah.
All my life, I'd be a multi-gazillionaire.
Yeah, the challenge that I see right now with buyers getting in is affordability, right? The average rent, roughly, in Reading, what would you say the average rent is that people are paying right now in Reading?
Oh gosh, it's close to 2,000.
I don't know.
I don't really
number.
Follow it, but it's up there. It's gone way up.
I would say, let's say conservative, $1,500.
$1,500.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with that.
So if someone wants to buy a home, what would you say the entry-level home price would be?
Oh, if you could find one, we're just closing on a client, and we worked really hard, we just got him a 3.2 up off Lake Boulevard in a nice little neighborhood for right around $300,000, but we had to fight for it. I mean, it took us a month and a half to find a good one. A good one.
And they're out there.
Oh yeah, they're out there.
They're out there.
But you need to be pre-qualified. You need to really have your finances together. Have a great realtor working with you that understands what the lender needs in order for you to get that house.
Yeah.
I see a lot of the realtors that are new, and I'm not throwing stones necessarily.
Yeah.
But the problem is they don't work with a lender close enough, and they write a deal and they write out the lender.
Yeah.
And they don't get the conditions and the terms that they need
To
so
help
that the
that
lender
customer.
can put the package together
Right.
and they get the house and close it.
Yeah,
And they're not
it's so important.
renegotiating everything as they go along.
It's so important to have a good partnership there between
Absolutely.
the lender. There's so many things. There's so many times where I have agents that I don't necessarily know, and they didn't contact me on the contract, and I have to
Right.
go back to them and kind of restructure the deal for that
Right.
for that customer. But no, that's a great point. So $300,000, you would say is entry level.
Yeah, I would say that that's kind of entry. I mean, you can get a little bit less than that, but
So-
for a 3 and 2, it's right in there.
So let's say $300,000 for entry. You know what the payment is for a first time home buyer for $300,000 roughly?
Tell me.
Around $2,600.
Okay.
With today's $2,500 to $2,600 with today's interest rates. This is no money down, and coming in
We're getting
maybe
3% closing costs.
closing cost credit. Yeah.
Right. Got it.
So let's say you have your average renter paying $1,500, mortgage is $2,500, right?
Right.
So why is someone going to go from $1,500 to $2,500?
Oh my God, there's so many great reasons.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is why I wanted to touch on this point, because the first-time home buyer is not educated enough to understand what these differences are. To them, it's just, hey, I'm paying an extra $1,000. Why am I doing this?
Right.
And so there's many reasons, but to get to my ultimate point is that gap's going to close. So like when interest rates do come down, which today, did you see what happened today?
Tell me.
Well, the Feds met and they kept interest rates the same, but the 30-year fixed mortgage, it came down.
How much?
I would say it came down about 0.1 to 0.2 ish, right in there. The market was up 70 basis points.
So in layman's terms, what is that, like 7 and
so right now, according to Freddie Mac,
okay,
last week rates were 7.06 on average.
Okay.
So it probably next week is going to dip down to
That's
like
like 7 and
6.8,
8.
6.9.
Yeah.
7 and 8.
Yeah.
Roughly next week it'll probably be back in the sixes.
Okay.
According to Freddie Mac. So
Okay.
interest rates improved. My point is that $1,000 every month, and here's the interesting part is the first-time home buyer market is 50% of the market right now.
Okay.
And when you remove cash buyers and investors, if you remove cash buyers and investors, the first-time home buyers, so what I'm getting at is there's first-time home buyers that are buying real estate right now, and there's a lot of them.
Right.
And the reason why is because they're in this age where they are tired of renting and they want to get into it. So there's buyers that are buying first time. What I'm getting at is there's still a lot more behind them that have not bought yet. So that gap of $1,000 is going to go down to $500, let's say, with lower rates.
And guess who's moving into the market and going to compete?
More people are coming in. And so what's that going to do? It's going to drive that $300,000 home up to, who knows? But that's what
it's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, nobody ever knows truly what's going to happen, but the odds are it's going to appreciate. I mean, it's just, supply demand. It's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have
it's a beautiful thing when you're in the market,
Right.
and what's so amazing is I was in your conference room before we started this podcast, and I'm flipping through. You have a book in there about all the different loan
Down
programs.
payment,
And there's tons of them for first-time home buyers.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing. I mean, I've been in the business. I'm third generation real estate, construction, finance, development. I've been around the block.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of stuff. There's no point in the real estate history where there's been more loan programs to tailor to
absolutely
to buyers.
100%
I mean, it's just
agree with
incredible.
that. 100% agree.
And even if you don't think you can afford, you still need to meet with Pete.
Yeah.
And the reason being, and I've seen this over and over and over again. People go, "Oh, I can't afford to buy. It's just out of reach for me." But you know what? If you work with Pete, you work with me. We can get you into a game plan, and And usually, believe it or not, a lot of times it just takes a year to get it all figured out, get your credit, figure out what you need to do, what you need to pay off, all these things, so you have the ability to go out and start writing offers and get in the game. And then your finances, your home finances, your work finances, everything works together for you. And then you start getting that appreciation. You start getting the tax write-offs. You get all the benefits of it. That property, for a lot of people, your first property should be your next rental. One of the things that we have to really work with first-time home buyers is you got to get your head around, you're probably living in not that great of a place, and you want to step up into, I want my first house to be better. Well, why not just have your first house be equal to what you're renting, and then turn that into a rental later on? That's your entry point.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. A lot of buyers, and I educate them on this. You know, a large audience, a large piece of our audience are first-time home buyers. Right. So that's my goal. And so being a first-time home buyer, it's hard to understand just the whole process of that first house, but I do help them on that next house and the next house. And the trick is to keep the house that you buy and turn that into a rental and go to the next one. Each time you buy that next house, it gets easier and easier and easier.
Absolutely.
And the reason why is because when you go to that next house, the income that I use for that next house can be the rental income that you're getting now, the new rental income, plus your regular income. So your debt ratio is not going higher. In debt ratio, I mean your expenses are not getting higher because you're buying a second house because you're using rental income to help you qualify for that next home. So I help my first-time buyers get to that second home, that third home.
Yeah, and we've seen it over and over and over again. I mean, we've been in this business a long time.
Yeah.
You know, you've been in the business 20 some odd years.
2 decades.
2 decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in almost 4.
I was
decades.
I was watching a YouTube video. This is kind of off track, but I was watching it, and he was saying, "Hey, when you say how long you've been in the business, don't say 20 years. Say 2 decades. It sounds better." So did it sound?
It sounded better.
Did it sound better?
I've got 4 decades.
See, it's 4 decades. It's like, and I don't know how I feel about that because now everyone knows that I've been around for at least 2 decades.
But the thing about it is, what's good about that is you're dealing with someone that has a lot of experience, has seen a lot of really good things and a lot of hardship too. We've seen that. We've seen the dark side of real estate. Yeah. Our job is to help you through that. Yeah. One of the things that I really believe in, what I think we really have in common, is when we're working with buyers or sellers, is we're talking about, we really focus on the education part of the business. This is a business. Yeah. And so we want to educate our buyers and our sellers 100%. And show them the opportunities and the downsides. Yeah. Because there can always be a downside. Correct. Things happen. Yeah. Bad things happen to good people. You know, the economy, who knows? Yeah. They're always screwing around with it. Yeah. But still, you can have a great foundation to build on and build a future, but you got to get in the game. And the game is knowledge. Wow. The game is building a team. Yeah.
Having a team of knowledge. Yeah.
You got to have a team of knowledge.
4 decades and that's 6 decades.
6 decades. So, and you tag my wife on, and it's like,
years.
We're 100 years.
Yeah. 100 years of, that's amazing.
Yeah. 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 But it's true. You know, it's, you know, people want to get ahead, and, you know, I'm an A-type personality, so I want to get ahead really fast. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to slow down a bit and let it work.
Downshift.
You got to downshift. Yep. And get in the game and let the real estate work for you. Yeah. Focus, get into something, focus on your career.
Love that.
Make sure it's stable, build it. Build equity in what you're doing while you're building equity in your home. Yeah. Turn that home into a rental. Yeah. You know, get to a place where if you're building a family, say you're having kids and they're turning into teenagers, and you just absolutely want them on the other side of the house, well, you'll have equity and income to be able to do that next tier. Yeah.
I love
right?
that. Love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's taking that long view and being patient. Many times I wish I was more patient. I was screwing around doing real estate deals all the time, blah, 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 flip, flip, flip. I could have just bought a few properties
Yeah.
in a timely manner and just sat
Yeah.
on them
Yeah.
and would have
So
come out
what
just
I'm
as
hearing
well.
you say is it's not necessarily a race. Don't race to like get a bunch of real estate, but slow it down and patience.
Patience and understand the game you're playing.
Understand the
You
game.
want
Yeah.
knowledge and skill stacks the deck,
I love that.
right?
Yeah.
Well, you can read books all you want, but you need to go to the experts.
Yeah.
Whether it's Pete or whether it's me or somebody
Yeah.
else, any other realtor, or any other lender, you need to be with people that have the smarts and the experience
Yeah.
to tell you and
Totally.
the integrity to tell you the truth.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
So
Yeah,
for instance,
100%.
let's talk about that. Say I'm working with a buyer. I think it's really important that no matter which realtor you're working with, the realtor is working closely with the lender, but the realtor also needs to be looking at that property as they're opening the door and doing an inventory on some of the things they're going to have to negotiate on behalf of you, the buyer,
That buyer, yeah.
and also on behalf of the lender, because you don't want to be negotiating on a house that's has a lot of problems and you can't work through the repairs, right?
Another good reason to have a lender, to help you with that.
Absolutely.
Quickly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's different programs depending upon your credit score, your loan to value, all these terms that you'll get introduced to when you work with Pete, where it all makes sense. But you need to be working with professionals that have your best interest.
Yeah.
Like for instance, when I'm working with a client, I say, I don't really care what you buy, long as you're aware of what you're buying and it works for you. And we're going to take it out after your purchase, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of maintenance. What does that look like? Can you afford it? What's your game plan? Do you have relatives that can do roofs? What about the pest work? Can we let that slide or do we need to take care of it? Oh yeah, you want new carpet, but maybe you need something else.
Yeah.
And so we need to really work through that. And I think it's super important, again, get with a good professional.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So I have a couple more questions here for you.
Sorry, we don't have like
no, that's all right. This is really, really good info, and I'm sure our listeners are going to get a lot out of what you just were going over. It's really awesome information. I actually am getting a lot out of it too. I'm like, man, I need teams in other areas of my life, experts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about insurance.
Oh my God.
It was kind of a topic, is when we're talking about the market and updates.
Yes.
And we have you want to just explain the insurance situation that we have in Shasta County?
Yeah, because we deal with it day in, day out.
Yeah.
Fire insurance,
Yeah.
up until the car fire, was not really an issue.
Yeah.
An average house would be possibly, anywhere from $500 to $1,000.
Yeah.
Now, we had an insurance policy on our house and it was like $650. Now we're paying $900.
Wow.
It's a
seems
small
pretty
house
low.
in town.
That seems pretty low still.
Yeah, it seems pretty low. We
Yeah.
start hearing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But the reality is when the car fire hit, the Paradise fires hit, we've had these big, massive fires, and the insurance companies have basically said, hey, we're pulling out.
Yeah.
And so the only insurance companies that have stayed are jacking their prices up because it's so risky now.
And there's companies that have gotten out. So,
Absolutely.
as far as I know.
Yeah, I don't really want to get into naming them.
Yeah.
But a lot of the big ones,
Companies, yeah.
are not writing insurance policies, but we do work with brokers
That will help.
And they'll go fine.
Which is another point that I wanted to make is for any buyer that's looking to buy. It's
Correct.
important to know the location of where you're buying is. If you want a couple acres, it's going to maybe be a higher cost for the insurance because it's out on the
Yeah.
outskirts.
Well, let me elaborate on that.
Okay.
So if you're in the county,
Yeah.
we just closed a deal. It was 2,400 square feet on some acreage.
Yeah.
Custom home, but
In
not
the
new. It was
county?
probably
Yeah.
30, 35 years old in the county.
Okay.
And so we put it in escrow. And so they went out, the buyer went out to get insurance, and their quote was $15,000 a year.
15,000.
15,000.
Wow. How much was the house?
The house was around 700,000.
700,000, 15,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I've had one for 520,000 roughly on the other side of the valley, up on the hill, up towards Montgomery Creek.
Yeah.
Custom home, 3,800 square feet, probably 15 years old, 20 years old. That was 15,000. But I want to explain a little bit about that because every buyer that's going out and purchasing, they're not all created equal. Yeah. And the reason being, the way it's been explained to me, is if you've had claims before, that can greatly affect your insurance on the home you're purchasing.
Me as a homeowner, if I had claims on a previous house that I owned.
Oh, yeah.
And then I want to buy this new house.
Or you have poor credit, or the combination. There's a lot of different combinations.
It's going to affect my cost for insurance.
So the next buyer came along. We sold the house, and their insurance policy was $7,500 because they didn't have any previous claims.
Instead of 15,000.
Instead of 15,000.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's not a bargain, but I mean, there's a vast difference.
Still a lot. Yeah.
It's still a lot, and there's California Fair Plan.
Yeah.
So there's ways to negotiate it. You definitely want to get with a broker, get a referral from us.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll help. Yep.
And we can, send you in a lot of different directions.
Do you think it'll ever change? Do you think it'll ever get back to where we were pre-car fire?
No way.
No?
No.
You don't think so?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, it will not. I mean, it might tone down.
Yeah.
But unless the big insurance companies come back in.
Bring the competition down.
Yeah. There's a certain level of safety. But when you think about the baby boomers, the years previous, everybody wanted to live out in the woods on acreage, and insurance was not a factor.
Yeah.
It really wasn't a big factor.
Yeah.
And but now it is a big factor, and there's a lot of houses there, and they're unwilling to take the risk without taking the reward.
So a buyer that's looking to purchase, they'll get a better deal on their insurance if they're kind of closer in a more urban area instead of a rural area.
You need to be in an area that has a full-time fire department. There's special zones in that. So what we do when a buyer's going out, we really have a heart-to-heart talk about them,
insurance
because it's going to play into, the financing part of it, or your affordability dramatically, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, we have a real heart-to-heart. And then so as we're searching, we're saying, okay, give that address to your insurance company, see what they come up with.
Yeah, nice. Before they're even,
Yeah, if we can. I mean, sometimes you can't do that. You need to write an offer because there's strict competition, but we definitely work through it. So if you're out in the county, it's definitely a big crapshoot.
Yeah.
We did one up in Shingletown. We thought that the insurance was going to be through the roof, and it ended up only being $2,000 because it was just down the street from a full-time fire department and fire hydrants around it.
Yeah. Nice.
But it was out in the middle of...
it was rural.
It was rural.
Super rural.
Yeah, and it was definitely wood and all that, but it qualified and everything was great.
Wow.
But then you go down the street a little bit farther and it would have been insane.
Yeah.
So we just need to be careful. Whoever you're working with, you just really need to have a good team. You really need a good insurance partner along with
insurance,
the mortgage guy and the realtor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would add, depending on your income and what you got going, good CPA in your corner.
Good CPA, absolutely.
Good trust person to set
have
up
a
your
trust.
I would also add financial advisor, financial planner for your assets.
Right.
Yeah.
Diversified a little bit here and there.
Yeah, that's why it's important to have, these professionals around to help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And And 20 years ago there wasn't that much access or knowledge
Yeah.
for the average person to go, hey, I need to put a team together, blah blah blah, and all that. But you need to do it now, and it's easy to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great people that you can build your team with.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Got a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
So next question. This is kind of going to tie it all. What are your best guess for 2024 with interest rates and home values?
Well, you're the interest rate guy more than I am. I would say that they're probably going to start coming down slowly, potentially.
I agree.
You agree with that? Okay.
Yeah.
As that happens, I think that we're going to see some more inventory come on. I think a lot of people have held off for a number of reasons, but you also have to think about it like in more my generation, the baby boomers. A lot of people need to move for a lot of different reasons. And we're starting to see that happen. They're reaching their retirement where they really want to downsize. If they have big mortgages, that doesn't work so well. They're hanging on to their property unless they get sick or they need to be with their grandkids, and financially they can make those moves. But I think that real estate will ebb up slightly before it takes off.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Nobody's got a crystal ball.
Sure.
But I think from all I've been through 8, maybe 9 recessions in my career. So I mean, this is pretty lightweight, believe it or not. I mean, it's a little weird to see 19% increase in
home
pricing,
values,
then have it roll back 8%, but it didn't roll back 25.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still way ahead.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I've heard a lot of people on the internet or whatever write about, there's going to be this big foreclosure volume. No way. Because people still have equity.
Yeah.
Unless you bought in the last year.
This is this has happened in the past. So I looked at the years on market Case Shiller. They track home price appreciation since 1941, and there's in 1946 to like 1950. I'll have to look at it again, but I'm just going off my memory. There was like 120% appreciation between those 5 years. 120 is a lot. So one of those years was close to the 19%.
Right.
So 1951, that person that wanted to buy, they're like, oh man, the last 5 years, real estate's gone up this much. I'm going to wait. And this is a person that qualifies. I'm getting the person that qualifies that can actually afford the payment of $300,000. Right. I'm going to wait for home prices to come back down. You know how long they would have had to wait? Like 46 years. They had to wait 46 years, for the price to come down 0.1%.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. We see this a lot.
Yeah. So to put it in perspective, I obviously, like what you're saying, anything can happen. I mean, there could be a black swan. The market could go down, but the numbers and the supply and demand factor, we need a lot more inventory.
Right. And especially in Redding, like
we need a lot more inventory.
What we talked about previously, the future bodes very well for the Redding area. We were having that conversation about average income versus home prices, like we're the best in California.
Yeah.
I mean, think about
affordability.
That. Best in affordability.
Our affordability is the best in all of California. Yeah, for average sales price and average income.
Right.
Yeah.
So all you people that are down in those cities and you want to
Move
get
up
out,
here.
move up here. We're ready for you.
My last question, Wayne, is whoever comes on the show, I like them to tell their story of the first time you bought a house. So tell us your story of how you bought your first home.
Well, it's really not that interesting because, again, I'm third generation real estate and construction.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I was pounding nails when I was 14, building houses basically in my once I got out of high school.
What year was this?
Oh,
I'm
my
just kidding.
God.
You
It
don't
was a
have to-
long time
You
ago.
don't have to tell me.
But so I ended up building my first house.
Oh,
I
interesting.
built my first house.
So as a you're a
So my
first-time home buyer, you
grandparents,
built your first house. Oh,
yeah, my grandparents co-signed for me,
wow.
and I built my first house, built my equity into it, and
Yeah.
then I started accumulating real estate.
So how
there.
did that go? So you bought the land, or how did that all
Yeah,
work out?
so I don't know, you know, a lot of you won't recognize this name, but Jackson Baker,
Okay.
who owned Shasta Ready Mix, I believe it was Shasta Ready Mix,
Yeah.
or still does
Yeah.
own it. He was doing a lot of development around here,
Yeah.
and so he'd go in, put in lots, and we would buy a lot for $7,000. We'd put $2,000 down, and he'd subordinate the $5,000.
Oh, he would carry the $5,000.
Yeah, he would carry the
Yeah, I
$5,000,
see.
and so then we went
Wow.
to savings and loan back in the day,
Yeah.
and we go get a construction loan.
Wow.
And so, because I had a contractor's license and everybody
Yeah.
was in it, and I was, because I'd been working, I had some money saved
Yeah.
up, and so I was able to build my equity in.
That's
and
amazing. Did you work on the house yourself?
Absolutely,
You pounded the nails
yeah.
and everything?
Oh man, I can
Really?
I can dig ditches, pour
That's
concrete,
awesome.
frame.
I had no idea. That's the first time I heard this story. This is
Yeah.
cool.
And so that was my entry point. The other entry point was I bought a duplex up off Sacramento Street, up Placer, up behind Holiday.
This is like your
up there.
second place?
Yeah, that was my second place.
Okay.
And so, because I,
Duplex.
yeah,
And you moved in one side?
yeah, I moved into one side and then the payment was made. And then
They call that house hacking now.
house hacking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's new.
You
to
were
me.
house hacking back then.
Yeah. And so, because I was in the business, my family, especially my grandparents, they go, "You're not college material, but you can be a contractor."
Wow.
And then I had another good mentor who's right after high school, he was a developer. He was a coach at UC Davis, and then he wasn't making enough money. And he took me to the side and he goes, "You're not college material." Reality, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't do well in school, but I was a hard worker and fairly street smart, whatever.
Wow.
He says, "Go get your real estate license, combine your real estate license with construction.
Oh, really?
Learn finance and marketing, and you're going to make a
Really?
ton of money."
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was a real turning point for me. And so
Wow.
I became a contractor, had my real estate license here locally.
And who was this guy that gave you this advice? He was a contractor?
No.
He was a realtor?
He was a professor at UC Davis.
Oh, professor. Got it. Okay.
But he shifted gears and started building apartments with a partner. Started building duplexes and then got into big projects
Yeah.
and then built medical buildings and built massive high-end subdivisions
Yeah.
and all that. And I was best friends with his son, Hunter, and
Wow.
he just took me to the side. He could see that, you know, he goes, "You have all the qualities to be able to make it in this industry."
Wow.
And so it was a turning point for me.
Yeah.
Because I really was not really that into it, but I didn't have a path.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
and that was my entry into it, but I had good mentorship.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for all of you
Makes it a
out
team.
there, if you really want to get in the game, you can, but
Yeah.
you got to be smart about it. Get the knowledge, build your team, do the
Wow.
heavy lifting,
Love
and
it.
you can get in, and then it gets easier and easier and easier as
Love
you go
it.
along, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've
love
owned
it.
a lot of real estate.
I absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still own a fair amount.
Yeah. So
Yeah, real estate's been my number one source of gaining wealth for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my mortgage practice. That's been good, but the majority of my equity, my wealth has been through
real
purchasing
estate.
real estate. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, great.
Awesome. Thank you, Wayne, for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you for telling your story there. And I hope to have more of these to just help our listeners understand the market, what's happening.
Absolutely.
You seem to have a really good dial on our
Yeah.
local Shasta County market.
Yes.
And so if anyone needs to get a hold of you, how would they get in touch?
Reach out to me. You can reach out to me at Wayne Martin at windermere.com, or you can just call my office.
Yeah, and I'll put that contact.
Yeah, just
info.
put all the
Yeah.
contact information, even my
Cool.
cell phone.
Okay.
Hey, if you got questions, I'm here to help.
Cool.